Sullivan, I'm Don Pratt, host of a show here on Rogers TV where we give you a perspective of policing your community. Welcome to Policing York Region. And today we're going to talk about the Remembrance Project with Gary Miner and Jim Parks. Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, 75th anniversary of Juno Beach. This was a big year, and Jim, you were obviously a part of that.
I became part of a group that's at the Juno Beach Center, and it was our ceremony mainly concerned with walking on the beach, the same beach that we landed on D-Day.
Right.
And we sort of walked through. There's a pathway up in the Juno Beach Center. We had everything all laid out. They had pictures of.
So this was a ceremony that you were at this summer.
Yeah.
This past summer. So
right.
just for the sake of our viewers, can you just tell us a little bit of what Juno Beach was?
Yeah. Well, Juno Beach is actually it's a landing place that is designated for the Canadians to land on a D-Day, and there's actually four assault battalions that spread over about couple thousand yards, and one of the battalions was Winnipeg Rifles, who I was with, and we landed on Mike Beach, which Juno Beach is designated different names: Mike, Green, so on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Mike Beach is the one where the Winnipeg Rifles landed, right by the Sewells River, which is on Courcelles-sur-Mer.
Okay. And then, so this summer was the commemoration of the 75th anniversary.
Yes, it was. Yeah, they had Veterans Affairs organized as many veterans as they could, and we paid our way over, and they had a schedule, and we followed the schedule of all the places we had to visit. And that was a major one, was on the Juno Beach itself.
Wow, so this was a very significant event.
Yeah.
And so what happened, Jim was over there for the 75th anniversary, and then a group of students from Normandy, France came to Canada, and their whole mandate is to cause remembrance for the Canadian sacrifice in Normandy. And that's called the Westlake Brothers Souvenir Association, and it's basically students that study the sacrifice of the Canadians. And they came here we're talking about policing in York Region. We're going to talk about the Remembrance Stone up at 3 District on Baseline Road, which Jim has been to our Remembrance services pretty much every year since 2011 when we unveiled that stone.
Right.
And in 2013 when I was at Juno Beach, and Jim was there. I think you've been there every year since.
Yeah, every year, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
You go back.
They put on a PowerPoint slideshow profiling the 396 soldiers that lost their lives straight out on the landing.
Right.
Many, many more were wounded, obviously,
of course.
but they do a French and English bio on each of those soldiers at Juno Beach. And then they come to Canada about every 4 years. So they came in 2015, and at the recognition stone at 3 District, we put a marker in the garden to honor their visit. And they came and they did a remembrance service at 3 District, and they also went over to Georgina Island and did a remembrance service in 2015. Oh. Now this year they came just to the recognition stone at 3 District, and we brought Jim up to meet them, and they really, it was just a very emotional day.
It would be.
Unbelievable.
It would be.
I was serenaded.
Wow, is that right?
Oh, yeah, and like 2 nice songs. There's 2 young students, they're all juveniles, and I was presented with their poppy.
Yes, I know.
French poppy, yeah.
Wow.
And have you washed your cheeks, Jim? Because I remember, like, all 35 of them kissed you on both cheeks.
I haven't washed them since.
Serenaded and
oh yeah, serenaded.
Welcome. And here's some of the pictures from that, right?
Yeah.
What an amazing.
Yeah,
day,
this is one of the chaperones and the students and the master of ceremonies, and they're going over the order of service with Rod Beswick, who's Sergeant of Arms of the Legion. This is some of the recognition markers that are in the garden, and the names on the stones are veterans that served post-war with a pre-existing service in York Regional Police. And you see the map of York Region and all the badges of the previous police forces, they were called back in the day, before 1971. And an unveiling stone there, and again, markers. There's 11 markers in the garden, and I could give you the sequence. You'll see. And this one here is obviously myself, some dignitaries, Jim Parks and his wife, and some of the chaperones that came with the students.
Wow.
From
That's Brian Budden in the middle.
President of the Queens York Ranger,
right.
Queens Own Rifles
Yeah.
Association.
Wow.
And there's us on TV.
And there we are.
Yeah.
And there we are. Yeah, it had to have been an amazing, as you said, an emotional day.
Oh, it was.
3 days.
It really was, yeah. Especially getting that serenade. I was sitting down, and they both come over, and two of them, 2 songs.
Yeah.
I forgot what they were, but they were good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the students say, unbelievable how emotional they get about reading a bio of a soldier that they've never met. They're
Right.
3 or 4 generations ago, and they still have this passion in their voices, and a lot of tears were shed on the day.
Yeah.
And obviously a very emotional time for meeting somebody that actually set foot on the ground on the day of the invasion.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, that would be a remarkable day.
Oh, it was, yeah. Never forget it.
No, I'm sure you won't. I'm sure you won't.
You can go to Facebook and watch it watch it on their Facebook page, Westlake Brothers Souvenir Association.
Westlake Brothers Souvenir Association.
Yeah.
On Facebook. Yeah. Well, we'll prompt people to have a look at that.
Yeah.
So there was 3 Westlake brothers.
Okay.
So you remember it by GTA, George, Thomas, and Albert.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, there was more Westlake brothers that served, but they're from Toronto. And these 3 died following the invasion in Normandy.
Okay.
3 of them, and 2 of them died together, but basically they adopted the name as their motto for the causing remembrance. So it's they're Canadians that they're named after.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite the movement that they've
Yeah,
created.
you can Google them and get a history of them.
Yeah. So can we talk a little bit about the Remembrance Project itself, like the actual stone and where that all came from?
Yeah. So just to recap, in 2011 we applied for some funding to create a stone, a monument that would cause remembrance for all persons that served their country. Didn't matter whose country. It does happen to have the Tri-Forces, Tri-Service badge engraved on it.
Yes.
And it's a 8-ton piece of pink Laurentian granite that was crafted and designed through Lousby Memorial in Newmarket.
Yes. Yes.
And Lousby's been very, very generous to us over the years, but none of the costs of erecting this garden and stone they all came from donations through our pan dinner night. So the Police Appreciation Night dinner.
Yes.
And the stones that have been added, we've applied for funding again through donated money to enhance it, and it's now recognized. It's registered with the Veterans Affairs Canada as a monument. So you can go online and see the accreditation. And I'm speaking about it, but really a colleague of mine, retired Sergeant Gary Phillips, was a champion behind.
He was a strong proponent.
Yep.
Yes.
And he's retired now, and he's not living in Ontario. But hello, Gary, if you're out there. And he got me involved, and I'm glad that he did. And it's been a passion of mine to promote it and certainly carry on his vision of what it would look like and enhance it.
Yeah.
So then. Following that in 2014, a colleague of ours, and you would have known him, Les Pengelly. Yeah. Les Pengelly served on the Restigouche, and they during D-Day they were on anti-submarine patrol in the Channel. And in 2013 we unveiled a marker over at Juno Beach in his honor.
Yeah.
And we gave him the wooden replica here in Canada. It was supposed to happen simultaneously on the same day in 2013. Fortunately, he got ill, but we did carry on and present him with that in about October of 2013. And unfortunately, in January 2014, he passed away.
Yes.
And in November 2014, we put his marker and the former chief of Georgina, Len Donner. They both served in the Navy during the war, and we put their recognition markers in the garden. They were the first 2, timely as it was, that we had done all of that. Yeah. And then the next year, 2015, we added about 9 more names to the garden. So we do that on a research project. What officers that served in the Army or the Canadian Forces, could be Army, Navy, Air Force, then became police officers and have since passed away. So we identified more names. In fact, the first chief of York Regional Police, Bruce Crawford, was the next one, and Bill Hill, he'd been the chief of Newmarket Police, and so on. Bill Langman, and so there's a number of names there which I could inventory for you, and certainly happy to speak. Their names are in the garden. And this year, we'll be adding Arnie Leader's name, and Arnie was a sergeant with the Township of Vaughan Police, pre-region. And then after 1971, he was with York Regional Police, and then he left policing and he went into opening group homes for juvenile delinquents. And so he was part of what we would now call our, a youth program, but those youth in conflict with law. And there's several youth out there that went through the group home, and I actually got to speak at his funeral, though I may have met him once. They invited me to speak at his funeral, and there was youth from the day at his funeral. So we'll be putting a marker in the garden in his honor this year for 2019, which will be Friday, November the 8th for your viewers.
We'll hold that thought. We'll come back to that. Folks, we'll be right back after this.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
We were born in Canada. We spoke English. On the streets, we weren't welcome. But on the field, we were the Asahi. Vancouver's champions. Everyone cheered for us. Our people had a voice. Then Canada declared war on Japan. They took us from our homes, called us enemies, forced us into camps. But we brought the game with us. Baseball helped get us through the internment.
The Vancouver Asahi were among the 22,000 Japanese Canadians interned during the Second World War. The team never played another game.
Hi, I'm Dave Solossi, host of Politically Speaking, Insights and Issues. Join me this week as I speak with Natalie Rizzo about the Amazon Basin and climate justice and social justice. That's Politically Speaking, only on Rogers TV.
Welcome back, everyone, as we continue our conversation about the Remembrance Project of York Regional Police. So, Gary and Jim, during break, we were talking about, Jim, you were talking about something to do with bricks in Juno Beach.
Oh yes, they have kiosks there. The Juno Beach Center was actually put together by donations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and donations were, and Walmart was one of the big stores in Canada which accept donations. You buy bricks.
Okay.
And then on the brick you'd have your name, and all these kiosks got names of the person who donated the brick. That was towards the cost of building the Juno Beach Center.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was all individually donated. It wasn't financed by the government at all. It was financed by veterans, families, and others.
Yeah. So individuals go into a store, they buy this brick for...
They could buy the brick, yeah.
You could. Now it's through the website of the Juno.
Yeah, of course.
Now it's through the museum.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
and then students can take a summer placement there at the Juno Beach Center. So in 2003, it was unveiled in 2003 was when the center opened up. And a fellow by the name of Garth Webb, who'd landed there, it was his vision to have something to recognize the Canadian sacrifice. So if you haven't been to Juno Beach, I highly recommend you get there. And in fact, this guy here is a bit of a celebrity because was it 2015? What year did you do the Amazing Race Canada? And you were the
I forgot.
or was it 2014 for the 70th anniversary?
A little later than that, I guess. Maybe somewhere that time. Yeah.
So Amazing Race Canada, and he handed out the next leg.
Amazing Race Canada.
The race was done in Normandy.
Is that right?
And they had to go to the beach and be met by.
Yeah.
And I was a guy on the beach with Colin Montgomery. Montgomery was the host, and I met them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they were the Amazing Race, and there was these two hockey players, female hockey players. They come up and they shook hands. They walked away to come back and give me a big hug. So I didn't
He
mind.
handed out the next leg of the race.
Yeah.
If you're into Amazing Race.
Yeah.
That was the encore.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was really a
You're a
fantastic.
celebrity in your own right.
Yeah, they flew me over there, and so it's kind of nice. They took care of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been, earlier you were saying you've been back many times.
Yeah, and the thing about the Juno Beach Center, if you go inside, it's not about the landing itself. It's all about what Canadians did in the war zone and at home during the war. It shows you what the home front did to keep things going, and what the troops did anywhere in the world. Here, the three services.
So it was a history and
it's all there.
Of what happened. Right?
Well worth a visit.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people could Google Juno Beach Center
Yes.
and look it up, and perhaps even for donations, should that be what
If they
want
want to, if they have a veteran, they know a veteran or somebody in their family that served and landed, they can certainly support the center. It's a museum. It's a legacy to Canada. They can support that through purchasing a brick on the, as Jim said, the kiosk. There's a number of kiosks. You get a titanium plate, and you can put, dedicated to, and we did for Les Bengali.
Right.
And I happened to be there with, I planned to be there. It was four of us from York Regional Police that were there and unveiling that. And there's various museums, and certainly the Queen's Own Rifles, the Maison de Canada house is there. That's a neat little museum to see, which was a German command post, I believe, on the landing. But it's the family's converted it into a museum to the remembrance of Canadians. So.
Yeah, they still live there too.
Yeah.
Part of the house. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, the one particular section of the house is all the QR stuff, all their momentum. Very well done.
Yeah, well worth it to see how they even got onto that beach. So I know we're kind of talking about the beach a lot, but so how does that have to do with policing in York Region? I'm just very proud of the fact that that we cause remembrance through the recognition stone.
Yes.
And I may have talked about this on previous programs, but in 2013, a colleague who now retired, Sergeant Rob Cullen, had this brainchild of an idea. Why don't we take a miniature of the recognition stone and take it to Juno Beach?
Yes.
So we took a 104-pound replica. It's made of pink Laurentian granite, the same granite as the stone, same engraving, just a miniature version. Which, it's a funny story because we thought we were going to get away with carry-on luggage, and didn't happen.
I did hear that. I did hear that story.
Didn't happen, but and we're a bit of a time crunch getting it to Juno Beach. This is in 2013.
Of course.
Okay, well, we're going to present this on the 5th of June, when the ceremony is going to be the 6th of June. We wanted the Juno Beach Center to have it at least the day before, and here it is stuck in Toronto. So through some pretty resourceful people, including our Chief Eric Jolliffe,
I'm sure.
believe it or not, this UPS van rolled up to our hotel at Sulares. How do you pronounce that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we rolled up, and here we get this
104 piece of.
It was in a it was a well protected box, and it had deck screws. I remember it had deck screws in it. I go, okay, now how are we gonna get those out of there, right?
You didn't carry a screwdriver in your carry-on.
We MacGyvered it out. We got it out, and then we took it on a tour of the beaches and took photos with it, and then we presented it to the staff at the Juno Beach Center, and So that's a trip I'll remember, and one of the things that we got up to, and so there's a piece of that rock over
On
there.
Juno Beach.
Yeah, a piece of the same rock. That's,
What an incredible journey, right?
Yeah, a great story. Yeah, and great remembrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still I should have brought some photos of that, but we only got half. We only
have half an hour. Yeah,
5 minutes
that's
left.
right. It goes pretty quick.
Yeah.
So speaking of remembrance, everyone knows when Remembrance Day is.
That's right.
York Regional Police has endeavored, I believe you said, when did we start this?
So we started the remembrance services at the monument in 2011. I mean, York Regional Police have been involved in remembrance services every year.
Absolutely.
Since certainly during my 43 years that I was with them, that's top priority in November, and but we hosted it. We host a remembrance service, and that's not to trespass on what the legions are doing
not
or
at
what
all.
communities are doing, but it's a way of getting. You know, what happens for York Regional Police for remembrance is they go, okay, can you send a crew of people in and you try to have a representation in all these parades, but you'll see a lot of York Regional Police at this service. And we have, within York Regional Police, I believe at last count about 68 or 70 active members that have served with the Canadian Forces and are now police officers.
Yes.
So certainly when we created the stone, the war in Afghanistan was on, and there was veterans coming back, and we wanted to make sure that the armed forces, certainly the Canadian Forces, knew that York Regional Police respected everything that was going on with their sacrifice. And I think 2005, the federal government called 2005 the Year of the Vet, and then the chief of police at the time was Armin Labarge, and he said, every year is the Year of the Vet, and that stuck with me, and I carry that even to today.
Yeah. And that's one of their models right on their home webpage.
That's right.
Every year is the Year of the Veteran.
Yeah. So we pride ourselves in what we do for veterans, and it was an opportunity. Certainly before that, we were doing the welcome homes for the soldiers that came back.
Yeah,
and
I attended many.
And we got it. That's right.
Yes.
And we got to welcome home 15 local veterans from Afghanistan.
So as they were on their way back from afar, they were met with candles and flags on the side of the road.
It was
quite an astounding adventure. It was.
And through that, I got to meet veterans that they didn't get welcomed home, like from other wars that they never got welcomed home. I got many stories from veterans. So
it just kind of got lost.
So really, when we're promoting policing in New York Region, we're promoting remembrance. Remembrance is more than a bumper sticker that says I support a vet.
Yes.
You engage with them. You know, get to sit down with the legacies that we have here, because they're you know, we you don't get that opportunity every day, and when they're gone, they're gone.
I can tell you those at the welcoming home ceremonies that I was at, I mean, they were very emotional. I mean, here's somebody that may have been overseas for 6, 8, 10 months, and this is the first time they've seen their family, their friends.
Years.
For years, yeah.
Yeah, we keep in touch with a fellow that was a prisoner of war. Like, you know, you want to talk about appreciating what we have in this country. You just sit down with somebody that's gone through the hardships of, you know, being shot down, marched to a prisoner of war camp and held as a prisoner, and survived that, and became a productive member of society afterwards.
Yes.
So you don't have anything to complain about in this life I cherish those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. A little remembrance is a good thing, right?
Well, I give talks at schools and cadets. I do the Navy cadets I'm doing this year, plus there's a school out on Highway 48. I forgot the name of the thing. It's way up north. But there's 2 talks. I usually give maybe 2, maybe 3 talks every year.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you should never turn them down. They ask, you try to make an effort to get there.
So you go into the schools and actually educate the students on that.
I have a PowerPoint too. I say, look, you want me to give a PowerPoint? It's just verbatim, depending what it is. If it's only a 15-minute, it's like this time. I think in Uxbridge should be 4 veterans, so we each get up and give a few minutes talk. That's a little different.
Well, and it's so important to bring the young people into that conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because there is that awareness piece of this is a part of our history.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, as a young person, you might have that interest. I know for me, when was my interest? And my dad was in the Navy during the Cold War, but he didn't talk about it. He didn't talk about his experiences. And I think, Jim, maybe there was a time when you weren't talking about your experience.
Okay.
And veterans are now, get them while they're talking about it, is what I say. And, there's that TSN turning point in your own life when you go, well, maybe I wasn't listening, or did I not ask him? But my dad's gone, and so I'm still after that little nugget of information of what happened. What made him the way he was.
Yeah. No, I think it comes a time where it kind of tunes us into, okay, maybe we want to just learn a little bit more about this, right? And for me, it's been recent years as well. But wow, okay, I missed a whole lot in my history class. I do want to learn a little.
You don't, and you won't get this in history.
And you won't.
You won't. You have to go out and listen to the talks. And we had Jim Parks and Jim McPhee up to Barrie this summer for the We Shall Remember Them play that was on, and it was millennials talking about the journey of learning about a soldier, and basically it was a play about the name on the stone.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they they adopted that name and then researched that soldier, and then they played that soldier as through their interpretation of what his life might have been like, right up until he left this world.
Yeah, I heard that movie got great reviews.
These were high school students.
This was a play. You're talking about the other.
Yeah.
You're talking about a movie.
Yeah, I heard both. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's unfortunately it was only a summer performance, but again you got swarmed, didn't you, by the actors?
Yeah.
Yeah. They so these kids really put on quite an emotional play, and then the follow up was they got to meet people that actually served with the people that they were playing.
Great opportunity on both sides.
Two of us were sitting at the front there.
Yeah.
And they come along and they chat with us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's always great to have you on. Thank you so much for talking about Remembrance, November 9th, 3 District?
Friday, November 8th.
Yeah.
Friday, November 8th. I apologize.
Yeah.
Folks, that wraps up this episode of Policing York Region. It's been great having you. Look forward to seeing you again.